Hi, welcome to the fourth session of the Ask the Expert series, Hypermesh for Feko users. In this session, we will be talking about how we can use Hypermesh for Feko users. It is quite common that people who are working with the electrically large structures using Feko may encounter some of the meshing issues, and probably the mechanical engineers will be giving the CAD to the EMAG folks, and they'll be getting some kind of may not be able to get the clean geometry. If you are not going to get the clean geometry, and further we could not able to have the clean mesh. Once if we don't have the clean mesh, we could not able to perform the antenna placement analysis or the antenna co-site analysis. And in this tutorial, we will be talking about how one can use some of the advanced capabilities of Hypermesh to clean the geometry. Not only cleaning the geometry, how we can perform a mesh Boolean operation inside Hypermesh. You can see here the workflow. We presented a small workflow over here. We will be using Feko, of course. We'll be having a Feko file, and we do have there is a nice interface between Feko and Hypermesh, where you can have a called FHM file, Feko Hypermesh file, where you can export from Feko and import into Hypermesh. Again, from Hypermesh to Feko, this particular format is easily accessible between these two softwares. Okay, we got a core geometry that is available from the Hypermesh. You can see over here the picture. We are going to export that into FHM model. Then we will be taking into CAD Feko, and we'll be keeping a patch antenna. Okay, we will be keeping a patch antenna. Then we would like to, that is a real antenna, and this is a mesh model. You see over here, we are trying to connect these two things. And if you can, then we are going to have the antenna, and then we are, after that, we'll be importing the platform mesh. Okay, the automobile vehicle in this case. Place antenna on platform with base intersecting platform. And once we have that particular thing, we are going to mesh the platform and mesh the antenna as well. Of course, the automobile vehicle is in the meshed format. And we are going to now export this particular unconnected antenna and platform mesh model. So we are going to in the FHM file, so that but then we are going to go to the Feko. From Feko, we are going to go ahead with Hypermesh. Hypermesh, we are going to import this particular unconnected antenna and platform mesh. Then we are going to edit and remesh unconnected antenna and platform mesh so that we can connect them appropriately. Export the mesh again, and then we can bring the model into Feko, the connected mesh of antenna and connected with the automobile vehicle. Then we can perform the analysis using Feko solver MLFMM, and we can produce the results. Means there is a easy workable format that it can be done from Feko to Hypermesh, Hypermesh to Feko. Okay, in case if you have any issues with the CAD geometry or meshing issues, you can go to Hypermesh, clean it up, and come back to Feko, and you can perform the simulation. If this particular cleanup needs multiple times, you can go back and forth between Feko and Hypermesh accordingly. Okay, let us jump on to the tutorial and work with this particular thing. Let me quickly go ahead and open the Hypermesh file for us. I'm going to open the HyperVex over here that is available. Okay, HyperVex 2021.2 version. And I would like to import the latest file, the automobile meshed format, assuming that I got this particular from one of the mechanical engineering department. Okay, you can see over here Altair HyperVex. I'm gonna import you can see this is already available over here. I'm gonna same thing in the HM file. This is a Hypermesh format. I'm gonna use this particular thing. Okay, once I have this particular thing, I can export this particular thing into FHM format. Go to File and then use Export option, Export Solver Deck. Then you can create a folder on your desktop So that's a demo, right? It's a tutorial demo where I would like to use it, a tutorial demo, and I'm gonna have the name as the same name, but with the extension FHM. Okay, Feko Hypermesh format. That means it goes between Feko and Hypermesh in mesh file. Same. We can use it very easily and export. I got the FHM file of the mesh. Then I would like to open my Feko. Let me open the Feko, add Feko. And once the CAD Feko opens up, I'm gonna get my patch antenna so that I can open my patch antenna over here. Go ahead and open model. That's the patch antenna which I would like to use over here. Patch antenna which is working at 1 gigahertz. I have the patch antenna available. What I would like to do now is I would like to extend this particular base model so that it will be easy for us to connect the mesh over here. Let me first import the vehicle mesh. Then we will do the adding the base to this particular thing for further operations. Let me import it. Import mesh. The mesh is available in FHM format in our folder. Vehicle meshed. Okay, I'm gonna use that particular thing. And once I import that particular thing, this is available into Feko. Let me show that if it is available or not. Okay, I got my meshed automobile vehicle, which I got from mechanical department, some from mechanical folks, and I got my patch antenna that I designed in Feko. Both of the things are available. Now I need to have this antenna placed on top of the automobile vehicle, and I need to connect this particular mesh to the geometry. We will do the steps one by one. You can see over here, I imported that particular meshed model. Now what I need to do is I need to make some initial adjustments over here so that this particular antenna can be mounted on top of that. What I would like to do is I would like to make a sweep of this particular face so that it can be going inside the automobile vehicle. Let me go copy duplicate and let me change the height to -h so that the geometry will be little down, and let me change the region to PEC, not the real dielectric, so that the metal can interface well. Okay, once I have that particular geometry available, what I can do is I can move this particular sweep one into union one. I move this particular entire geometry, made this particular thing into one geometry patch antenna. Once I have this particular thing, then I need to have this particular patch antenna mounted onto the vehicle. That is our next step. How are we going to do that? Go to select union one and go to align option that is available under transform tab, under transform group. Click that particular thing. I have these coordinates available so that I'm going to punch in those things. Probably you can work with your geometry appropriately. I have them available handy. That's why I'm punching them over here. Okay, 0 and -2.690 or 9667212 and 1.27100800165 plus 0.003. These are the offsets I already gathered. Yeah. And also it should be flat. That's why I'm using the offset angles over here. 0.127, 190, 5573. Okay, and it should be conformal, right? That's why I'm having these angles as well. 0.0164, 966, 383. 0.0164, 966, 383. Once I have these things, let me zoom into this particular setting so that our antenna is mounted on top of the automobile vehicle, and we can see this particular things. Then once I align this particular thing, then I would like to mesh this particular geometry. How I'm gonna go ahead? I'm gonna go to mesh, create mesh, and I would like to go with the fine mesh option, of course with the wire segment radius 0.005. Go to mesh. Okay, I mesh this particular thing. That means I will be having both the mesh for the, even though the meshes on the automobile and the mesh for the antenna is there, they are not connected. We can go to the Hypermesh to connect these things. However, there are some initial meshing tools that are available in the mesh tab. In case if you wanted to work with them, yeah, this the preliminary options that can be workable. But in case if you want to go for the advanced options, Hypermesh is our friendly tool. Let me save this particular thing so that we can go further. Yeah, before that, I need to unlink this particular mesh. Only we are going to take this particular mesh of the antenna and the automobile mesh. Unlink mesh using wire port. Okay, and let us keep this particular wire port and delete the old wire port one. Okay, we don't need this particular port, and I'm going to delete this one. Then I would like to exclude the antenna geometry. We no longer need the geometry now. I would like to exclude that. I only need this particular mesh geometry of both the things. Once I have those particular things, I can go to Home tab and I can use the export option. Then I would like to export the mesh using FHM file. Then only export option and model mesh scale to. Okay. Then I am going to give you a name for this particular thing, vehicle and antenna meshes to connect. Okay, and we have the FHM format, vehicle and antenna meshes to connect. Then we can go back to Hypermesh and create a new model. Okay, we are going to go back to our Hypermesh and we are going to create a new model. I'll go back this one and new model. Let me create a new model. Okay, I got a new model. Let me import this particular thing. I go back to file, import, solver deck, and I have the demo file. I'm gonna, these two things, right? Vehicle and antenna, I need to connect them. I'm gonna open them and click import. I got my antenna is available. Okay, antenna and automobile vehicle is available. Okay. Now what I need to do is I need to do a couple of things. I need to go to the components and I need to do, I don't want the bottom face, some cleanup we will do. I don't need this particular phase 2 component. We can delete that particular thing. You can see over here, the phase 2 is nothing but the bottom face of the geometry, antenna geometry. Okay. I got that particular thing. I can delete that particular face. Okay. I'm going to delete that particular face. I deleted it. Now let me go back to my geometry and perform the Boolean option. Okay. Go to Elements tab, go to Edit Mesh Group and Mesh Boolean, and what kind of mesh we need to join, like the phase 3_1, that is the side wall of the particular patch antenna and the vehicle. Let us do that particular thing, and also I select these particular predefined options for the local meshed contacts, and I got the components that I need to select now, and I selected both the components. I need to use the shift option so that both these things are selected and click OK. And now we can run so that it is going to join both the mesh. Okay. Yeah, it ran already and we can now close this particular thing. And we can go back and we can delete the bottom mesh if we want. Over here, we can delete this particular mesh over here. Otherwise, we can take into Feko and we can delete this particular elements over here. Okay. Let me export this particular thing first. and then we can go from there. File, export, solver deck. Let me keep a name for this particular thing. I have done, or let me hide those particular things, and you can delete over here or you can delete over there, as I told you. Then because this is a connected geometry, right? Let me give the name as vehicle, antenna, and antenna connected. Antenna connected. Once we have this particular thing, let me save, export or save. Yeah, it is saved now. You're going to ask for export. Yeah, exported. Then what I would like to do is I would like to come back to my CAD Feko. I got my CAD Feko here. I would like to import my geometry, and then I'm gonna replace a couple of steps over here. I'm gonna go back to import option, go to mesh. I would like to import my connected geometry, right? Antenna and connected geometry. I'm gonna import both the things. Let it import. And I would like to replace the union one with the newly modified one. There is an option, if you right click, replace with will be there. I will be replacing the union one. Similarly, I would like to replace the vehicle with the newly modified one. Right click, replace with vehicle one. And then you can see over here, the mesh is very clean, and it is also joined over here. Okay. At the edges, it is joined over here. What I would like to do is I would like to delete some of the elements on the side face below here. You can just select the element over here and delete that particular element. Delete that particular element over here. Like that, we can delete all the elements which are not required for us for this analysis. Otherwise, you can keep it also. It doesn't hurt. Yeah, it is good to have the clean geometry, right? We are going to delete them. I'm deleting all the triangles. I'm deleting everything. Okay, you can see over here. We need little patience, but it's okay. We can do that. I'm just deleting all the faces which are not required for me. The bottom of the vehicle that protruded inside the vehicle. Some more elements are there. I'm just going to delete them accordingly. Once we are going to delete this particular thing, then we can run this particular geometry and using MLFM solver, because it is electrically large structure. That's why we are going to use MLFM solver. I am almost there. Couple of more elements I'm going to delete. That's all. Once we are done, last few more elements and last element. Okay, I got my clean geometry. Mesh boolean performed on geometry is available. What I can do now, I can just go to the save this particular thing. Let me go to solver run tab, go to solver settings and save this particular thing as MLFMM. As I told you, I solved this particular thing, save as, and I would like to tag this particular thing as antenna placed and ready to run. Antenna placed and ready to run. Save it and then hit Feko solver. It is going to run the simulation and it will take some time for a while to run these particular things. I already performed this particular simulation and I have the results for this one. You can see over here, this is the resonant frequency antenna. Once we place the antenna, there is a slight shift on this particular patch antenna results. And also you can see over here the radiation patterns from the patch antenna that when we mount it on the aircraft. When we do this, and there are some more additional information that is available for the tutorials. You can go over here. This is the link where you can find it, all the YouTube tutorials. Let me open the link over here. You see, all the tutorials are available on the YouTube channel, HyperWorks 2021 for Feko users. You can see geometry or model import or model organization, geometry cleanup, automatic geometry cleanup, geometry creation, surface meshing, mesh morphing, and mesh boolean. All these options are there. You can go through the videos based on the requirements. Yeah, this is the mesh boolean, something similar to what we have done now. Yes, friends, and after that, we do have the tutorial is available. Step-by-step tutorial is available on the user guide. You can see over here in user guide, you can see page number 1342, how to connect an antenna to a Hypermesh generated mesh. You can see over here all the steps and tutorials. I took all the slides from here, all the material and information from here, and you can see same steps. All the steps are available in case if you are want to for some more details of this particular thing. Come to this particular user guide and refer to this particular example. Okay, this helps. Thanks, folks. Thanks for joining the session. And yes, this I'll close this particular session, and we can see you in the next session. Thank you.